Welcome to the show, everybody. Hey, look who's not on his phone. Anyway, welcome to the show. My name is Mark Farzetta. This is the Farzy Show presented by MyBookie, mybookie.ag. Just lovely to have you along for the ride. So the little equipment shuffle in the studio. So if you guys hear anything that sounds a little off, sounds a little weird, other than my ridiculous opinions, just hit me up in the comments and be like, hey, what's with that? But either way, it's good to be speaking into a camera as opposed to a phone, into a microphone as opposed to my earbuds and not AirPods, because I charge enough things in my life. Anyway, welcome in. Phillies win. Nola deals. Casty goes yard. Phillies last night, I'm not saying they got incredibly lucky, but I'm saying they got lucky last night. I've talked a lot about last night. I talked about a lot about. Yesterday's show, I talked a lot about how the umpire was clearly against the Phillies 2 nights ago. And I don't like getting into it, but it was worthy of it last night, or 2 nights ago. And then yesterday, I watched this Phillies game, watched the Phillies take on the Astros, and I said to myself, this umpire loves the Phillies. They definitely benefited from the calls. And I think the last 2 nights were great balances of what do we call the season evening out. Even though the Phillies won both games, the umpiring or the ebbs is part of the ebbs and flows of the game. But love what I saw from the Phillies. Love what I saw from Aaron Nola. We'll go through that. Eagles, of course, had their 53-man roster cut down day yesterday by 4 p.m. Some things were surprising, and other things were, yeah, that's about right. I'll come right out with it. James Bradberry. I still don't believe he's going to play for the Eagles in Brazil. I find it very hard to believe, and I know the money dictates that he will be here, but I really can't. They would really hold on to him for the season? I know right now, and Howie Roseman said yesterday, as he says every single cut down day when he talks about this Eagles squad, that after all the cuts are done and him and Nick Sirianni address the media, still working on the roster. Oh, yeah, he's not going to just go through cut down there and be like, well, all right, see you guys next offseason. No, it's a never-growing process. A couple of things that right away jump out at me is the center position. Nobody backs up the center position. This is Landon Dickerson is kind of your backup center right now. Is that right? I was a little disappointed that E.J. Jenkins did not make the roster. Only 2 tight ends are being carried by this Eagles team. Again, James Bradberry, surprising, was surprised. And everything else just kind of fell into place. I mentioned E.J. Jenkins getting cut. Paris Campbell got cut as well. I was surprised, speaking of that offensive line and a backup center, McMahon got cut. Toth got cut. Very surprising. Very surprising in that regard. We'll go through the whole thing on the show today. Let's get into this. Let's start it off with your Philadelphia Phillies. Because what I saw yesterday from this Philadelphia Phillies team was something remarkable. The Phillies have won back-to-back series. And they haven't won back-to-back series. And around the 7th inning, I started looking this up because I like, what was the last time the Phillies won back-to-back series? You know how far back you got to go? 2 months. You have to go back 2 months to find the last time the Phillies won 2 series in a row. The last time they did it was against the Arizona Diamondbacks. That was at home, not the series out there. And then Detroit. They won 2 or 3 against the Arizona Diamondbacks, 2 or 3 against the Detroit Tigers, and they did that from June 22nd to June 26th. That's the last time they won back-to-back series. Now, the last time they won 4 games in a row was just most recently against the Mariners and the Nationals in that series before they went to Atlanta 2 weeks ago. So the Phillies actually putting something together right now at this given time is a wonderful thing. And let me start at the end. Look at the standings. After the Phillies were god-awful for a little over a month, month and a half, they're still right now tied for the best record in baseball with the LA Dodgers, who lost last night. Actually, I was watching the Diamondbacks game, the Mets Diamondbacks game, and I was like, oh, come on, Diamondbacks beat the Mets. And then I was like, hold on a second. No, I want the Mets to win this because I don't see the Mets catching the Phillies. I don't see the Mets could possibly even miss the playoffs. Maybe they get hot and the Braves cool off, right? Braves won last night in extra innings against the Twins. But I was looking at this like, hold on, I want the Mets to win so that the Diamondbacks are less threatening to the Phillies to take over the number one spot in the National League. But look at this. Phillies a half game up on the Yankees, game and a half up on the Orioles, 2.5 games up on the Brewers, 3 up on the Padres and Diamondbacks, 3.5 up on the Royals. This is looking nice. And then you can't see it down there because of the scroll, but 6 games up on the Braves ahead of their series, which starts tomorrow in South Philadelphia before the Phillies actually have to, win today to close out a 3-game sweep of the Astros. And who better to turn to than Taijuan Walker? Okay, anyway, let's not focus on that just yet. Let's focus on last night's game. A couple of things. That's the first thing to be celebrated. Just the fact that the Phillies have won back-to-back series for the first time in 2 months. The fact that the Phillies have won 4 in a row for just the second time in about almost 2 months. Actually, the last time they won 5 in a row, the Phillies win today. That means they've won 5 in a row. Phillies do that. It's the first 5-game win streak since May 18th to the 23rd, which was against the Washington Nationals and the Texas Rangers. So maybe for the people that want to go with, the Phillies are back, baby. Here's my back, okay? Here's where they're back. What are they back to? The Phillies will be back to a team, in my eyes, that could win a World Series if they win 3 out of 4 against the Braves. That's my benchmark. 2 out of 4 against the Braves. There you go. That's good. That's nice. But 3 out of 4, I'll be like, this team's winning the World Series, baby. I'll be back on that bandwagon, But right now, it's very good that they have beaten the Royals, a 70-plus win team. It's very good that they beat the Houston Astros at least 2 out of 3 as of now, going into Game 3 with Taijuan Walker on the hill for some stupid reason. It's very good that they won these 2 series, and it makes my hope grow for this Phillies team to win the World Series. But and I know it shouldn't because the Braves are a shell of themselves, but for whatever reason, they still love to just beat the Phillies. Get the Braves off your back. And I'll feel a whole lot better about this team and their odds of making it back to a second World Series in 3 years. So I'll keep my fingers crossed with that. Now, as far as last night's game goes, Aaron Nola was fantastic, but there was a little luck, as I mentioned, on the Phillies side last night. And when I talk about a little bit of luck, in the 3rd inning of last night's game, this is where home plate umpire Nick Lentz kind of balanced the universe of balls and strikes. A lot of calls went against the Phillies last night, or 2 nights ago. A lot of calls went for the Phillies in last night's win in Game 2 of this series against the Astros, and there's no better example than the 3rd inning of last night's game. It is scoreless. You have Verlander doing his thing. You have Nola doing his thing. These guys dealing in last night's game. You go into the 3rd inning. Austin Hayes, of all people, steps up to the batter's box and he smacks a double off a right-handed pitcher named Justin Verlander and puts it into left field for a leadoff double. Very next batter steps up to the plate, and that is Kyle Schwarber, makes the first out of the inning. He flies out to right field. Then, with 1 out, Trey Turner steps up and almost immediately goes down in the count 0-2. This is where Lady Luck was knocking on your door. He takes a fastball on the outside corner, not dusting the outside corner, not painting the outside corner, every bit of the baseball on the outside corner, just above the knees. And home plate umpire Nick Lentz just watches it go by, just like Trey Turner did. Ball 1. Okay. Should have been out number 2 of the inning, but it wasn't. So Trey Turner then gets another pitch, and he grooves it into right field for an RBI single, and just like that, the Phillies go up 1-0. All right, hey, a little luck on the Phillies side. There you go, boys. He keeps the inning. It had only been the 2nd out of the inning, but still. Then Bryce Harper goes up there. He gets a single, so that probably would have brought home Hayes anyway. 1-0. And then Alec Bohm strikes out on a slider that was nowhere near the plate. He flails away at it, goes fishing, misses it, 2 outs in the inning. Could have been the 3rd out of the inning and ending over. However, it wasn't. Nick Castellanos, with Lady Luck on his side, steps up to the plate, takes the ball. Then he takes a hanging curveball. Now, here's the deal. Justin Verlander had been throwing looping 12-6 curveballs throughout this entire inning. Hayes, Schwarber, Turner, Harper, Bohm even. And I'm just thinking, if one just hangs up enough, just barely enough, if one just hangs up barely enough, oh, it's going to go a long way. And sure enough, 1-0 count, Nick Castellanos gets a looping, hanging 12-6 curveball that ends up just above the knees that he smacks over the left field wall for a 3-run home run and a 4-0 Phillies lead. And he trots around the bases for his 18th home run of the season, with his 18th home run of the season. You're feeling pretty good. Run support for Aaron Nola, who, as I said, was getting it done last night. After that, a little bit more luck on the Phillies side as you move on in the game. Go into that 7th inning. Talk about luck. Phillies say, hey, why not get another insurance run here? Alec Bohm steps up with runners in scoring position after back-to-back singles to start off the inning by Hayes off a lefty this time. It was Ferguson pitching at the time. And then Turner comes up with a single, and in between that was a Schwarber flyout, unfortunately. But you got 2 runners on. Alec Bohm steps up, and in a perfect situation, off the knuckles, fights off a pitch that lands right in the middle of 3 Astros in shallow center field, and the Phillies get another run for a 5-0 lead. Luck was on their side, but you know what? What do we always call luck? What do we call luck when preparation meets opportunity? I'll take it. We'll talk about Alec Bohm, too, in a second, just as far as his body language and what's going on with him right now. But Phillies go up 5-0, and all through the while, Aaron Nola was incredible. The thing that was so wild about Aaron Nola's start last night is that for the first time this season, really, I have seen the knuckle curve take a backseat to a sinker or a 4-seam fastball. Not used to seeing that with Aaron Nola, especially this season where that knuckle curve has become the bread and butter pitch, the put-away pitch. But I'm watching him in the first inning. Altuve takes the first pitch of the game, I think it was, and puts it into right center field for a leadoff single. Bergman goes up there. He strikes him out on a fastball up. Sit down, son. And then he sits down Diaz with a knuckle curve. And I'm like, okay, well, that's to be expected. But first inning, 2 strikeouts for Aaron Nola. Then you go into the second inning. He gets Gamble to strike out on a sinker up in the zone. So, again, he comes with a little bit more of the heat. Rarity for Nola, but he does it. Then later in the 3rd inning, with a runner in scoring position, Altuve had stolen second base. He's facing Bregman again. And this time in the 3-2 count, he goes with the fastball up, and he pops the mid at 94 miles per hour. All right, Aaron Nola, I see you. Game goes on. He gets Diaz to strike out on another fastball, this one up in the zone on a 5-pitch at bat. He gets into the 5th inning, and at the start of the 5th inning, he's at 65 pitches. Now, for reference, 2 nights ago, Zach Wheeler was at 79 pitches at the start of the 5th inning. Yee! He gets through the 5th inning. He gives a back-to-back singles, but then he gets out of that. 18-pitch inning for him. The 4th inning was a little bit more of a struggle. That's where he threw 24 pitches. 6th inning, sits him down 1-2-3. 7th inning, he comes back out at 93 pitches. He uses 9 pitches to get through that 7th inning. He needed a quick inning. He got a quick inning. He struck out Pena again on a sinker. And then he got Diaz to fly out to center and Singleton to ground out to him. A little dribbler back to the mound. He was fantastic last night. 102 pitches. Picks up his victory. And all of a sudden, the Phillies look like a team that is on the comeback trail in terms of coming back to the best record in baseball, coming back to maybe the best team in baseball. They still have, maybe they'll get the opportunity to prove that they're better than the Orioles in the World Series. Maybe they'll have an opportunity to prove they're better than the Yankees in the World Series. But I know I would certainly love to see them get that opportunity. Aaron Nola improves to 12-6 on the season, 4 hits through the 7 innings of work, 1 walk, 6 strikeouts. Lowers the ERA to 3.30. That's the vibe. That's what I need to see from your Phillies as this goes on. Now, as far as having this go on, why are they doing this to us? I don't know. Taijuan Walker gets the start tonight. Oh, you know what? One more thing worth noting about Aaron Nola, excuse me. For the first time in a long time, Garrett Stubbs did not catch him. JT Realmuto is back in the lineup, which for the record, I'm fine with. And JT Realmuto, Brandon Marsh, Austin Hayes, Trey Turner, Bryce Harper, all multi-hit games last night. RBIs driven in by Trey Turner. Did that in the third inning. Bohm had one in the seventh inning I mentioned, and then Nick Castellanos came up with the big hit, the 3-run home run. But look at this. All of a sudden, double digits in hits again for the Phillies. Offense is starting to heat up a little bit. But today, that offense is going to have to jump out. Because today at 4:05, late afternoon, early evening start time, you have Taijuan Walker going up against Spencer Harakati of the Braves, who is coming off a 6 scoreless inning performance. And one thing he has not done throughout this year is have 2 really great starts back-to-back. So let's say he burned his great start already, and he's not going to have his good stuff, his 94-mile-per-hour fastball, his good cutter, his curveball. He's not going to have the good stuff today against the Phils. Not going to happen is the rookie. Not happening. But he is going up against Taijuan Walker, so at the very least, he's going to have an opportunity to do something today. Taijuan Walker gets to start 3-5 in the season with a 6.26 ERA. He's going up against Spencer Arrighetti, who is a 24-year-old rookie, right-handed pitcher, 6-11 on the year with a 4.94 ERA. That's what's being dialed up for the Phils in this late afternoon, early afternoon start time. Late afternoon, early evening start time. Let's bust out some brooms, baby. Let's bust out some brooms. And then take 3 out of 4 against the Braves. Let's do that. Philadelphia Eagles yesterday. Some interesting moves. Nothing changing, nothing crazy quarterback-wise, wide receiver-wise. After your top 3, you got Britton Covey. Not surprising. Johnny Wilson, rookie. They're holding on to him. Not that surprising. Then we start to get into the tight ends. 22 offensive players, by the way. Interesting. The tight ends. Dallas Goedert, obviously. Grant Calcaterra. All right. Big Al was put on IR. Right. I'm hoping that EJ Jenkins makes the practice squad. I would love to see that happen. Please let that happen. I was really hoping that it would make the final 53. Not the case. As far as your outside chances of making the roster on the offensive line, they certainly shored that up yesterday. Fred Johnson, Trevor Keegan, and Darian Kennard all made the squad. But when you talk about the offensive line, one of the things that we've been able to hang our hat on with this team is no matter who it is, if it's Jack Driscoll, if it's Stewie Opeta, they come in and they do their job. It's a deep line. They can play just about anywhere. So now I think you still have a pretty solid offensive line. You have your 5 starters, and then you have 4 backups, but without McMahon making the squad, a 6th-round rookie, which I was surprised to see. You don't have that standard backup center. And don't get me wrong, I think Cam Jurgens is going to be fine, but you never know what's going to happen throughout the course of a season. I don't know if you've looked it up recently, but football's a rough sport. So this is an interesting move that the Eagles have made and not keeping a backup center. Bold, especially when you have a guy taking over for, a Hall of Fame caliber center. But okay, Howie. And as it goes on, pretty much everywhere else, you got some pretty good backup, but that's about it. On the defensive side of the football, it was, Moro Ojomo, no surprise there. Tui Pelotu, not a big surprise there. Thomas Booker made a name for himself with the way that game ended against the Patriots, so glad to see he made it. He did a fine job there. Edge rushers, Jalix Hunt, no big surprise. Patrick Johnson, making a name for yourself there in the preseason. He certainly did that. Nolan Smith is no surprise. No one has been lower on Nolan Smith than me. And I keep on going back to after his first preseason game, telling everyone that his shoulders sometimes work. And their shoulder sometimes works. And I'm like, okay, this is a guy that was drafted in the first round. This is a guy that if it wasn't for Jalen Carter, everyone would hate Nolan Smith. And it was like, if he smiles with his, big frame glasses, people are like, this dork, he can't do anything. But because Jalen Carter exists and looks pretty awesome at football for at least 13 weeks, we'll see if he can go the rest of the season this time around in terms of playing at an extremely high level. If it wasn't for Jalen Carter, people would be piling on Nolan Smith. It's not the case. I didn't expect him to get cut by any means, but I know some people started to see what I've been seeing, which is not much from Nolan Smith. I had said months ago when talking to my man Sills about the Nolan Smith character. He's not like, if I'm putting the Eagles roster together, he's not in my future. It's not in my immediate plans to help this team win a Super Bowl this year. And I still laugh at Vic Fangio talking about, well, obviously Nolan Smith, but also talking about James Bradberry. And it's like the first answer he gives since his first press conference, it's the nicety. Then he'll get asked a follow-up question. About that player. And then he just can't help himself but to just ignore the nicety and just go right to the honesty. And that's where he starts talking about, Nolan Smith, good player, fast player. When he uses his speed, he's really good. And it's like, yeah, how about that sack he had in against the Commanders there? Against the Ravens. That was pretty good, right? And it's just like, well, it was wide open. There was nobody blocking him. The tackle misses assignment. Oh, but you got to finish. It's like, oh, you forgot to say something nice, didn't you? Aha! Who got to you, Vic Fangio? That same thing with James Bradberry. That same type of thinking, as far as that goes. But I know some people might have been surprised. I wasn't surprised anyway. They're not going to cut a first-round pick, regardless of the fact that he was the second first-round pick they had 2 years ago. At the linebacker spot, again, the only thing I was a little bit surprised about was Owen Burks getting cut over or Ben Van Sumeren making the squad over Oren Burks. I thought they'd go with a little bit more experience at the linebacker position, as opposed to a guy that I still think has a lot to make up for. Ben Van Sumeren might be the apple of maybe Howie Roseman's eye. I don't know. In terms of taking a guy that supposedly has all this raw power, raw talent, as I've mentioned before, in his stints at both Michigan and Michigan State, crazy, a converted fullback, and now he's a linebacker for the Eagles. Made the practice squad last year, now he makes the big league ball club, so to speak. Thought that was an interesting move there by the Eagles. The one thing he really did well in the preseason was blitz. And if you're going to take a guy who blitzed well in the preseason, then maybe that does show you a little bit more about what Vic Fangio plans on doing with his defense this year. Also, young guys, especially when you get into the secondary. Also, Jeremiah Trotter Jr. made the squad. That shouldn't be breaking news to anybody. As you continue to follow along with the 53-man roster and everything else going on there, safety positions, Darius Slay, cornerbacks, Darius Slay, Quenyon Mitchell. They didn't break it down to nickel. Apparently, they weren't listening to Vic Fangio. There's nickel and then there's corner. So the depth chart just has corner, as it should. Darius Slay, Quenyon Mitchell, Isaiah Rodgers, Kelly Ringo, Cooper DeJean, Eli Ricks. I thought Eli Ricks, like Zach McPherson, was playing himself off this roster. But this year might be the last year. This year is to McPherson last year is to McPherson as this year is to Eli Ricks. Like, hey, man, one last chance to show us that you got something and we can grow it. Last year you had a hell of a game against Miami. Helped shut down Tyreek Hill. Bring it again. So Ringo young, DeJean young, Ricks young, Isaiah Rodgers not so much. Quenyon Mitchell. This is why I think James Bradberry made the squad. And I know he made it as a safety, but we'll get to it. Then in the safety position, you have more experience with no rookies or young players there. Tristan McCollum made the team. Loved to see that in the safety position. Thought he had a really good camp. I hate the fact that he went out there and had his interception taken away, unfortunately, due to a Cooper DeJean penalty. Come on, man. But loved. He was. Somebody said it yesterday. It's the best thing you can say about a player like him. He was always around the ball. So I love seeing that. But the young secondary, especially when you talk about the cornerback positions, Vic Fangio's defensive scheme is supposed to be complicated. Communication is supposed to be key in a Vic Fangio defense. Communication, quarters, not a lot of blitzing is what we all heard about Vic Fangio. When you have a young secondary, it's like, okay, well, let's see how they do with that communication. Let's see how they handle adversity at the biggest of levels in the NFL. Not saying it's a concern. It's just something that I found interesting to go that young. So Darius Slay is obviously going to have to step up. So is Isaiah Rodgers. And then at the safety position, when you have guys like Chauncey Gardner-Johnson, Reed Blankenship, Avonte Maddox, who's an experienced nickel corner, now going back to the safety position, and then James Bradberry. I think this is where they wanted to make sure that they could sprinkle in some experience and some veteran leadership, at least for the time being. I still can't see James Bradberry staying on this team, but if you're to make an argument, there's two arguments. You went with a young cornerback group, a big part of your secondary, obviously. Young, very young. And then you're talking about the money. The money is the most obvious thing. The experience, I think, is the next thing. And that's why I think James Bradberry, at least for now, is on this roster. Jake Elliott made the team. Can you believe it? All right, anyway. That's what I kind of broke down when I looked at the final 53 of the roster yesterday. The biggest surprise to me is no solid backup center. That's the biggest surprise for me. I'm even more surprised about that than I am with how the Eagles looked at the James Bradberry situation. Very interesting. And yes, Tanner McKee is your third quarterback. Well, actually, it's funny. We won't even know that until the first week. So there you go. There you go. Any surprises to you? Hit me up in the comments. Let me know what you guys are thinking about this final roster for the Eagles. And final roster, all it is yesterday. That's all it is. And into today. The roster will continue to be worked on leading up to preseason game, or excuse me, leading up to regular season game number 1 in Brazil. Speaking of Brazil, today at 2:00, I'll be sitting down with a member of the Philadelphia Eagles fan base in Brazil. And we're going to have a little conversation. We're going to play the interview on the show tomorrow. Gabriel Bessa is an Eagles fan in Brazil. Now, Gabriel reached out to me when it was announced that the Eagles were going to lose a home game this year to Brazil. I never want the Philadelphia Eagles fan base to lose a home game. And I know no team fan base ever wants to lose a home game. But I feel like when you have a city like Philadelphia that supports their team as great as this city supports the Eagles, don't have them lose a game. I know you've added a game this season, but it doesn't matter. If you're able to have a home game, you should have that home game. You should never lose a home game. And I know it's going to be once in every 5 years. I don't know, whatever it is. But I was going off on a tangent when it was announced. And Gabriel hit me up, and he was, I didn't pull any punches. I appreciate his passion. A figure, an Eagles fan, even in Brazil, passionate. And he said, basically, God forbid us Eagles fans in Brazil get to see our team down here. And I'm like, all right, good for you. But I don't know if many people are watching me in Brazil right now. I know it is the World Wide Web that this digital world I live in now is all over. But I still root very hard for these people in Philadelphia to get exactly what they deserve every second that they can get it. So, but I see it. Hey, there's Eagles fans down there. You get a chance to see it. Hey, there's Phillies fans in jolly old London. So they got a chance to see the Phillies. Good for them. All right, fine. But we're going to get the inside scoop from Gabriel Bessa on what you can expect if you're going down to the game, what you can expect if you have friends and family going down to the game, what the deal is when people are talking about safety at the stadium, what the deal is when they talk about, hey, we don't like green, and the NFL sends 2 green teams down there. Cool. We're going to get the scoop on all that. Plus, I also need to know how to say in Portuguese, Cowboys suck. Phillies special. I need to know how to say that in Portuguese. And, just, stuff like that. Bubble screen. I want to know how to say bubble screen. Even though hopefully we won't see too much of that. You know what I mean? So we'll get into all that. I want to know what a boo sounds like in Portuguese. I'm pretty sure it sounds the same. But anyway, we're going to get Gabriel Bessa's take on that. That's going to be for tomorrow's show, so don't miss that. As for right now, let me tell you about the great people at the Game Time app. Download the Game Time app to your phone, create an account, use promo code Farzy, and get $20 off your first purchase on the Game Time app. And let's not forget about Game Time Picks. Game Time Picks is where it's at also. What can you do with Game Time Picks? Well, Game Time Picks on the Game Time app lets you filter through all the nonsense, if you will, so you can cut right to the chase when it comes to the best seats at the best price right there on Game Time Picks. So you can search through that, and it cuts out a lot of the search time for you. Makes it as easy as possible to find the best seats at the lowest price on Game Time app. So download the Game Time app to your phone, create an account, use promo code Farzy, get $20 off your first ticket purchase. If you want to go to the concert, you want to go to the comedy show, you can use the Game Time app for that as well. The big event, the Game Time app you can use. And here's what they got. They got the all-in pricing option where you can toggle that option. You see exactly what you're paying before you pay it. You can also view your seat before you buy it, so you take the guesswork out of buying tickets. And how about this? The last-minute ticket deals, the flash ticket deals, and they even have ticket deals for an hour after the event starts. So let's say you're going to a comedy show, right? You might miss the opening act. You might miss the middle. But you know what you're going to see? You know who you're going to see? That headliner you've desperately wanted to see for so long at a great discounted rate on the Game Time app. So once again, download the Game Time app, create an account, use promo code Farzy, and get $20 off your first purchase on the Game Time app. Terms apply. Hey, how about MyBookie? MyBookie.ag. Download the MyBookie app to your phone, create an account, use promo code Farzy, and get up to $1,000 redeemable cash bonus. And MyBookie.ag. MyBookie has it all. You want to bet on the world of baseball? Want to bet on the world of women's basketball? You could do that. You want to bet on the world of the NFL? You could obviously do that. Plenty of futures going to be happening right here. All with the great people at MyBookie. MyBookie.ag. So download the MyBookie app, create an account, use promo code Farzy, get up to $1,000 redeemable cash bonus at MyBookie. MyBookie.ag. How about PHL Sports Nation, Philadelphia Sports Nation, enhancing your Philadelphia sports fan experience across all social media and blogs? That's PHLSportsNation.com. Let's get into the chat check and see how wonderful people are doing. So here you go. Here's it's going to be a little bit different. Here's the thing. I'm looking over here for the chat check, but because of this little shake up in the studio, I have to look this way. So just hopefully it doesn't throw you off, people. What do we got going on here? Good morning, IBH. Okay, thank you. James Alexander, what's going on? Good morning. Nola had that's not a complete game. I mean, no, but I'm excited that he pitched 7 innings. Finally getting back our rhythm. Hells yeah. IBH, Eagles are taking a real gamble cutting McMahon and Jenkins. Thank you, IBH. Hopefully this doesn't come back to bite them. I concur. I really don't understand it all. The McMahon thing is just mind-boggling. The Jenkins thing, I just don't get it. Offensive line, we're used to having an embarrassment of riches. And we're in a weird situation because, look, last year's collapse was terrible. And I really hope that the Eagles do I hope the Eagles get out of the gate so quick. Because I really want to put the last 6 games of the season well behind the Philadelphia Eagles and the Philadelphia Eagle fan base. And if they get out to a hot start, then you'll be, all right, well, it's behind them. And I know with some people, it's still going to be looming. I mean, how can it not? I mean, the Phillies went through an awful scuffle, right? And the first thing everyone was like, they're the Eagles. It's just like the Eagles. Here we go again. Eagles 2.0, just in baseball. So even though, let's say the Eagles get out to like a 5-0 start this year. They were good last year too. And then they collapsed. I could still hear that argument. If they scratch and claw through a couple of games, but get the way, that's what they did last year, fool's gold. But here's what's interesting. So other than that, I bring all that up to say that Howie Roseman's done a phenomenal job. And is he perfect? No, but he's done a great job. So picking apart his 53-man roster And then also at the same time, when you question the individual positions that they're staying a little light on, like offensive line, there is not a position, like a position group, like quarterback. I won't call a position group because you're relying on one guy, really. But there's not a position group that I feel better about how it's handled than the offensive line of the Philadelphia Eagles. Is there a position group you feel better about in the way and how it's handled, how it's coached, how it's drafted even? Is there a better position group than the Philadelphia Eagles as far as the Philadelphia Eagles offensive line on this squad that you feel better about? In terms of drafting guys, developing guys, guys become really good at their job. So for me to go, wow, this is interesting. McMahon doesn't make the squad? Huh. I'm sure the Eagles know what they're doing. Like, that's not in me. Like, to have that kind of impulse. To be like, no, they know what they're doing. But when it comes to the offensive line, I still got to feel kind of confident in that they know what they're doing. As I've said before, this job's a lot more fun when everybody sucks. But yeah, so I thought that was interesting. Mihai Sanchez, what's going on? Greetings from Frankfurt, Germany. Layover on my way to Romania for a brief vacation. Romania. All right. Good for you, man. I was just in KC. What a world traveler. Just in KC last weekend for the Phillies and my 7th MLB park. That's great. Back-to-back series wins versus playoff teams. Hells yeah. Mihai, that's awesome. 7th MLB park. That's great. Kauffman Stadium for me, I will say this real quick. I've been outside the stadium because Arrowhead is right next to it. So I've seen it, and that's it. I haven't been inside. Obviously, I've been inside Kauffman Stadium, I've been inside Arrowhead Stadium. But Kauffman Stadium for me, I don't know how you guys were, but when I was growing up, the fountains in the outfield, that was like, in my mind, up there with like the Green Monster, the scoreboard at Wrigley, Tiger Stadium, like 435 feet to dead center field at old Tiger Stadium. Like these ballparks, these like mythical ballparks that just had this like real alluring feature about them. And Kauffman Stadium was pretty cut and dry, like as far as outfield dimensions and stuff like that. But when it came to that, those fountains over the wall, there was a video game when I was a kid, RBI Baseball for Sega Genesis. And I remember if you played against the Royals and you hit a home run, you saw the fountains. And I just thought that was the coolest thing. I'm like, video games are becoming such real life. Meanwhile, the guys' faces are all insanely pixelated, you know. But Kauffman Stadium is one of those. I would love to go to Kauffman Stadium. Yeah, that's awesome that you got there. And enjoy Frankfurt. I've been at that airport many a times. And Romania. What does one do in Romania? What is the cuisine in Romania? Stratus, what's going on? Nice. Okay, I guess that's the vacation. Sean Gillespie, good morning. But the world traveler, don't stay at large. Don't stay at any large castles in Romania. Why do I feel like that's from a Saul movie? Don't plan on that, Sean. Mihai Sanchez, experienced veteran travel, knows what's what. Sean Kilray. Fighting Phil's hell of a game from Nola and company. Absolutely. Not having a backup center kind of worries me. Yeah. But it's like, are you going to go to be overly concerned about it? Just to be like, does Stoutland know what he's doing? Does Howie know what he's doing? It seems like a dice roll. Seems like a dice roll. Kay Riley, what's going on, Crowley? Back to Johnson. Can't keep everyone. I know. April. Great Phillies game last night. They're starting to click. Oh, thank you. That reminded me. Does Alec Boehm know he doesn't? Does he know he doesn't suck? Because I don't think he knows he doesn't suck. I think he thinks that he sucks. And from the arm around him in Kansas City from Harper, and I know he forgot the outs. I know he had an inning double play in that same game in the previous inning against the Royals. Like, I know he's had some struggles, but like he still knows he's really good at baseball, right? Watching him play, and I'm by no means a body language expert, but watching him play recently, you would think he's in like an 0 for 50 slump. And they did reference it last night as far as his runners in scoring position has gone way down. Tom McCarthy, at one point, I think it was after his second at bat of last night's game, Tom McCarthy pointed out that he's hitting 240 with runners in scoring position in his last 71 at bats with runners in scoring position. And that's certainly not Alec Bohm, but the whole Phillies team has gone through a lot of struggles. So, like, you just add it to the list, man. Everyone's going through their struggles. I don't want to go back to last year with the Eagles, but everyone's going through their struggles last year at the end of the season. And look, everyone was going through the struggles, and the Phillies were awful. And now, hopefully, they're on the other side of it. Second 4-game winning streak? In 2 weeks? All right, baby. Let's get excited about that. Where are we at? There we are. But yeah, the Phillies are starting to click. Thank you, April. I don't know why that jogged my memory if that's what I wanted to talk about with them. But yeah. What else do we have here? Sean Gillespie. Kelsey made it look so easy that the Eagles management has a false bravado in his replacement, like they did with coordinators last year. Ooh. Spicy meatball, Sean Gillespie. So they did have a blind spot last year, being like, Jalen Hurts is great. Devontae Smith's great. A.J. Brown's great. We got DeAndre Swift. We got this offensive. Everything's great. We're fine. And then they weren't fine. They were terrible. Defensively, all you got to do is sit back. Not allowed to big play. Any coordinator could do that. Okay, we're going to need another coordinator. Yeah, there was definitely blind spots last year. No question. Daz, what's going on? Wrigley, Fenway, love those old parks. One of the greatest things I've ever gotten to do in my career was the 2010 Winter Classic at Fenway Park. Flyers, Bruins, obviously. And I worked behind the scenes for the NHL and NBC for that weekend. And I went up to Fenway. Was it a weekend? I don't know if it was a weekend. It was over New Year's, obviously. And I went up there, and Fenway Park was my playground for 3 days. Was in the bullpen. I went into the monster. I walked into it. The door was ajar, and I went, I guess I'll go in there. You want to know what it smells like in the green monster? You know what it smells like? It smells like an old barn. That's what it smells like. And I'll never forget, out of nowhere, I heard this like very authoritative voice go, "Hey, wait!" Well, I almost said exactly what he said. I don't like cursing on this show, but there was an F word involved, and it was in a very thick Boston accent. What the bleep you doing in there? And I peeked my head out the door, and it was one of Boston's finest. And I guess he then saw my credential, and I said, "I'm just checking the wires." And the cop goes, "Okay." And I'm like, "Oh, sweet." And I just like kind of looked around. It was like a cemetery. It was like very reverent, and all the numbers are all over the place, and all the letters for the scoreboard. I was like, "This is the coolest thing ever." And I'm like, Ted Williams was probably in this wall. Babe Ruth was probably in this wall. Yeah. Wrigley, I do not have as much fond memories, but a good time. Still a great time. Oh, you've been to Tropicana Field? Yeah, that place when the Phillies were playing there in the World Series, and anytime the Phillies are in there, it feels like a mall. It feels like, oh, there's a game going on. Oh, didn't expect that in here. That's crazy because this place sucks. Anyway, April, I'm going to go out on a limb and guess that Mihai is traveling with Uncle Sam. Maybe. If so, thank you for your service. Sean Gillespie. I like it when the chat is as Family Guy brain as my Family Guy brain. Mihai is in Special Forces hunting down Dracula in Romania. There you go. Daz, after hearing how we talk about Booker, I'm even more sold on the guy. Yeah, I find that the least valuable press conference of the year, and you guys know I listen to everything and I watch everything, is the 53-man roster cut down. And I know people are looking for explanations, but all I hear is the phrase that I've used with you guys before is right now, right now, right now, right now. Like, I feel like the shelf life of that press conference is the shortest out of any of them. So I don't, of all the press conferences, I don't put too much stock into what they say at the end of preseason play, cut down day presser. You know what I mean? But I will say there's a couple of things that I'm excited about as far as this goes. That brings us to our morning rush. Thanks everybody in the chat. You guys are wonderful as per usual. Let's get to the morning rush brought to by Sky Motorcars, SkyMotorcars.com. Looking at the season here, I know, and talking to people yesterday, I know that everyone's high on Dallas Goedert as long as he's healthy. Great. But the tight end situation with Grant Calcaterra. He's had concussion issues. You've already put Big Al, Big O, whatever, on IR. EJ Jenkins not making this team makes me feel like the Kellen Moore offense is not really going to be using a lot of that 2 tight end sets. You know what I mean? And Grant Calcaterra is not somebody, like when he's playing, I mean, for the same things I say about Dallas Goedert. When healthy, he does his job. When healthy, Dallas Goedert, I think, is a Pro Bowl caliber tight end. He is a Pro Bowl talent, at least. Grant Calcaterra is a good backup tight end, and he can block, he can catch, but talk about staying healthy, he can't stay healthy. So to be that thin at that position is nuts to me. It's like you have a tight end and a half. That's how it feels. Between a banged-up number one guy and a banged-up backup, are we just no tight ends? Are we changing it this year to be from the Eagles don't throw to running backs? Are we changing that narrative this year to the Eagles don't throw to tight ends? Is that how that's going to go? Because it feels like that's how it's going to go. That's what the roster tells me, at least. So that was one thing. And EJ Jenkins not making the squad, I think, is Bush League. The offensive line, I mentioned many times already, the center position is what's scary. As far as not having a backup and not having true depth there. And the last thing I want to do is have Landon Dickerson, who's a Pro Bowl left guard, be like, hey, guess what? Now you got to play safety. I'm sorry. Now you got to play. Now that'd be awesome. Now you got to go play. Now you got to go play center. As far as the defensive line goes, again, no real surprises there. And then, like, Bryce Huff underwhelmed. And I know a lot of people are looking for reason to be optimistic. So they look at the Patriots game and be like, he was out there for like 8 or 10 plays. And he defended against the run. And he got into the backfield. And he was good. And he had plays where he didn't go after the quarterback. And he made a play on the outside. And that's great. But it's still the preseason. If there's one guy that I'm looking at on this roster, let's say on the defensive side. Let's just keep it on the defensive side. That I'm looking at. Well, offense, I'm really not that concerned. But yeah, so I guess it would be the entire team. If there's one guy on this Philadelphia Eagles team that I'm like, that's supposed to be something that I'm most skeptical about, how is it not Bryce Huff? If there's one guy that I'm looking at supposed to be, he's supposed to be something, but I'm like, is he? It's Bryce Huff. And the reason for that is, his career. He hasn't done what the Eagles are going to be asking of him. I mean, James Bradberry is literally learning a new position. James Bradberry is kind of learning a new position, according to Vic Fangio. So if there's anyone that's supposed to be something that I'm most skeptical about, that, like, in other words, I'll be least shocked if he fails miserably, the one guy is Bryce Huff. And I hope that he's great. I hope he's amazing. I hope he's a Pro Bowler. I hope he gets 15 sacks. I hope he has 15 tackles for loss. You know what I mean? But just don't see it. And listening to Vic Fangio continuously talk about him like he is some undrafted rookie that the Eagles are taking a flyer on when he's a 3-year, $53 million player. That's interesting. It's interesting. And then I've carried over the same feeling and will carry over the same feeling into the Eagles regular season as I have had throughout this entire preseason, which is this really weird feeling of being an Eagles fan and being really excited about the linebackers. Has that hit you guys yet? Because I tried talking to you about it throughout the preseason, about this weird feeling. I'm excited about the linebacker. I don't know what this feeling is. And here I am excited about the linebackers this year. And talking about your legit linebackers, not edge rushers. But I think Jeremiah Trotter Jr. has the exact instincts you would want a son of a former hell of a linebacker. You would want him to have those instincts, those natural instincts. Jeremiah Trotter Jr.'s got him. In the event, you got to see him out there. Nakobe Dean looks like a totally different player. Healthy. Has to stay healthy. That's been the bigger question. Zach Bonds looked good. Devin White looked good. But all in all, how Vic Fangio used his linebackers in the preseason was the most surprising thing. Blitzing? Huh. I didn't see that one coming there, Vic Fangio. And then on the secondary part of things here with Darius Slay and these guys, if Isaiah Rodgers is going to beat out Keely Ringo, and I think Keely Ringo is a good cornerback, then that means that means that Isaiah Rodgers has to be a very good cornerback. And then Quentin Mitchell at the nickel spot. Do your thing, rookie. He's supposed to be something. He hasn't proved it at the NFL level that he has been something, like Bryce Huff has been something at the NFL level. Now he's getting the promotion as I've described it. Now Quentin Mitchell, no bigger promotion than going from college to the NFL. And I think the kid's got every ounce of swagger. I think he's got every ounce of speed. I think to play the nickel position, he is not afraid to be physical. I am looking forward very much to this cornerback triumvirate. Corner and nickel triumvirate of the Philadelphia Eagles, not to mention the depth they had at that position. They have at that position. So feeling pretty good about the Eagles roster as of right now, but I do have my concerns. Number one, backup center position. Interesting. Bryce Huff, go out and prove it. Go prove that you're this much better of a player than you were in New York. Not that you were a scrub with New York, but you were a 39, 41% of the snaps type guy in New York. Be ready for the promotion is what I'll ask. Also, Morning Rush brought to you by Sky Motorcars, SkyMotorcars.com. Of course, your Philadelphia Phillies are taking on the Houston Astros, looking to complete the 3-game sweep. The Phillies have not swept a team since they have swept the LA Dodgers, and that series was also at home, and it was before the All-Star break, and that's where the downward spiral started, unfortunately. Swept the Dodgers and then lost 2-3 to the A's, and we've never seen the same Phillies team since. 5 in a row. Let's get it today. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. This is the Farzy Show. Oh, yesterday I said that there was going to be a big announcement. Looks like that big announcement is either going to come today or tomorrow about my football responsibilities this year. I'm very excited about it. As I said yesterday, I'll just say the same thing I said yesterday. For my football responsibilities this season, I'm thrilled. Absolutely thrilled. I'm very excited to talk about it. It's just I'm not at liberty to talk about it just yet. But I think it's going to be some great times with some very familiar faces. That's all I'm going to say about it. Announcement coming soon. Can't wait. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. You guys are fantastic as per usual. I'll be back with you guys tonight on Locked On Sports Philadelphia. That's Locked On Sports Philadelphia for your Philadelphia Phillies postcast on the Locked On Sports Philadelphia YouTube channel. So make sure you guys check that out. Like and subscribe over there. Like and subscribe to the Farzy Show. And like and subscribe to Jacob Media as well. Have a great rest of your day, everybody. Have a wonderful rest of your day. I'll be back with you guys tonight on Locked On Sports Philadelphia following Phillies. Oh, wait, April, I just saw your last comment. I know, I'm sorry I can't mention it yet. I did think of you last night, April. They were talking about Bryce Harper's mint chocolate chip spikes. I hope you caught that. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. My name is Mark Farzetta. This is the Farzy Show presented by MyBookie, mybookie.ag. Wonderful to have you guys along for this ride. Be back with you guys tonight on Locked On Sports Philadelphia. Your Phillies postcast, and then back with you guys tomorrow morning as well. Again, Gabriel Bessa of the Eagles fan base in Brazil will be on the program with us tomorrow. Thanks for watching, everyone. Catch you guys tonight on Locked On Sports Philadelphia. See you then. Bye.